All right, so we're just going to get into some a basic overview of Google Sheets. If you're familiar with Microsoft Excel, Google Sheets is very similar to that. If you're not familiar with Excel or Google Sheets, then we're going to show you some basic ideas of the user interface and how you can enter in some basic data. As we get down into some of the content and the videos that we provide, we'll show you other features and functions. But to get started with Google Sheets, you're just going to open up Chrome and you would log into your Google account if that's what you have and that's what you're using. And you'll go over to where your profile is and click under the Google Apps icon. And you can see that I can select Google Sheets or just Sheets. So a sheet is basically a workbook that is equivalent to Microsoft Excel. You can see here I have a start a new spreadsheet. I can start with a blank one, or I can use a predefined template like for an expense report or other type of report that I want to create. I'm going to go ahead and click on the blank one to get started, and you can see that it gives us this user interface with basically rows and columns, and that's what an Excel or a Google Sheet is. It's a way to take data, put it in, and separate it by rows and columns so that you can do things like calculations or to create reports or graphs or other information. So some very basics of like data entry would be to just type in the first cell, A1. You can see my rows are shown here on the left and my columns are shown here across the top. Your columns are A, B, C, D, they're alpha characters, and the rows are numerical characters. So if someone said go to cell B2, then you would go over to B, down to 2, and that would be B2. You can click in any cell and type in any information you want. It can be numbers, it can be letters. So we'll just go ahead and put in a number 1. Let's say that's point number 1. And then we would tab over and we could put in, let's say we're going to do northing. So we have a northing of 10,000 and we'll tab over and do 5,000. And we'll tab over again and do 100. So tabbing goes from left to right, and maybe we call this control point. And then enter will actually go down. So if I'm here and I hit number 2 and I press enter, you'll see that it jumps to the column below. And then I would do 3, so on. Now over here under 2, you would type in, maybe this is whatever the northing is, and press enter, and you can see it goes down. So entering goes from top, so it goes top to bottom, or going down, and tabbing goes left to right or across. Now, much like Excel, if you click on a cell and you click this little button here, this little blue glyph, and I drag this corner down, you'll see that it copies whatever in that cell down to the other cells. I can Control Z to undo. And if you hold your control key down and drag that down, it actually will fill the columns with the next numerical value. So in this case, it's a one-step fill, and it's filling it at 3, 4, 5 all the way down. So it's kind of a quick way to add data. Across the top, you've got some menus, so we can get into editing, copying and pasting, viewing, changes, what you want to see. We'll talk about freezing rows and stuff like that. Inserting, you can insert cells and columns. So if you needed to insert a row or a column, you can do that. You'll see there's some functions and there's some links. You can format the cells, so how the cells look, what the text style is. Is it a number though, or is it a currency? Is it dollar for accounting? So you can see kind of the formatting. Maybe it's a date that you're putting in. All that can be done. Again, this is very similar to Excel. If you're familiar with Excel, you're not, some of this may not be too new to you or very new to you. It just may be in different spots and called something a little different. There's also some buttons across the top that are, probably quicker than using the drop-down menus. So here you can change the decimal precision. So if I wanted 2 decimal places, I can click on that and it adds 2 decimal places. Now we're not going to go through all the functions and features here. We just wanted to give you a very basic overview. You can change the cells, borders, stuff like that. Like I said, as we get into the content, we will start showing you more features and more functions that makes the use of these tools or this tool a little bit easier for you to manipulate your data. Okay. So the next thing we'll get into is start showing you some basic workflows that you may run into when dealing with spreadsheets, whether you're dealing with Microsoft Excel spreadsheets or Google Sheets. Again, they're very similar, and the tools are just going to be slightly different.